Welcome to Let's Chat with Derick. I am your host, Derick Phage, and I'm pleased to introduce today's guest. Her name is Heather Garrod, and she is the owner of Planet Botanics, and she is going to have some great advice for you to help us all get through some of these stressful times that we've been getting through. Heather, how are you?
I'm good, Derick. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's so nice to see you. This has been such a pleasant experience for me because I'm catching up with old friends like yourself. I don't think we've seen each other in probably 5 years, I would imagine.
Well, you said you were in Montreal for 4, so yeah, must
Yeah.
be.
Well, and of course, the nice thing about social media is we've been able to follow each other, which is great. And I've certainly been following everybody's journey as we go through this. So let's start first of all with how the pandemic has been for you. How have you been coping personally?
Well, I'm an extrovert, and I didn't realize the impact until we opened up again. And then I was just like, whew, I really missed the physical contact with people, and not, this black box that we're all using doesn't quite cut it.
Yeah.
What I started to do, actually, when we were forced to close, we were just gearing up for our 15-year anniversaries. So that was a real mind flip.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What I started to do was interviews with local wellness professionals about coping tips. So I think I have about 15 now on my YouTube channel. What
Nice.
I wanted to do was to try to offer people something that they could do while they're in isolation from people who have been practicing this themselves, or who have tips, teachers, coaches, all sorts of people. And that was really nice. That was a really good connection. And I just wanted people to know what a wonderful community we have of healers. And then I did little videos myself, trying to be cheerful. Some days were easier than others. Again, with little tips, books that had inspired me throughout my life, for example, The Four Agreements. I mean, just very, very quick little videos. But I think it helped me too, because this has been a journey for many of us to go inside ourselves and figure out what's important and what we've been doing right and what we've been doing wrong.
Heather, what would you say during those interviews with the healers that you spoke to throughout the community? Was there one message that really stood out to you? What was the one thing that you felt that impacted you, that you learned from?
I think mostly the overall theme was take care of yourself, and that's something that in North America we never seem to have time for. We're always busy, and our busyness is a reflection of how successful we are, when in fact it's not true. I'm guilty of it myself. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
So yeah, taking care of yourself, and especially for families where the children are at home. I mean, imagine my kids are all grown up, and I believe your daughter's pretty grown up too.
Yeah, my daughter's just turned 15 and my stepson 20. So yeah, you're right. They can take care of themselves. They have interests, and my daughter's an artist, so she can keep herself busy. But yeah, if you have young children, it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah. So as caretakers, the message was take care of yourself first. Go and lock yourself in the bathroom and run a bath, or take 15 minutes and go for a walk by yourself.
Right. Yeah, because it's a roller coaster of emotions, right, for us. We have good days, and I mean, we always have good days and bad days, but I think it's been amplified since, we were hit with COVID-19.
It definitely does, and stress is always there. It's just what we do with it. And then there's the reverse, where people were self-isolating, and that's where my heart really, really goes out to those, like my mother, who's by herself. And she's older. And we've got all that self-talk going on all the time, unless we have a distraction, and it's not all good. And so I was very anxious to safely reopen, and I haven't reestablished the clinic yet, but there's going to be a big need for people to reconnect, because we're social animals, and this has really done a number for sure.
Oh yeah, you're speaking to me. I mean, speaking to my spirit and my heart. I'm an extrovert as well, and it's just like it's been killing me. I haven't seen. My father has a compromised immune system, having suffered a heart attack and 3 strokes, and so I haven't been able to visit him. And geez, it's what 3 months now, I would say, that I haven't been able to see him. Now, luckily, he has technology. So that certainly made it a lot easier for us with FaceTime. But my mom and my stepfather are a completely different situation where they have no internet, right? They have no cell phones. So there's been no FaceTime whatsoever. Just recently, we finally, went to their backyard and sat on, other ends of the backyard, was just, filled. It was so difficult not to hug my mom and my stepfather when we were there. So yeah, I agree. Absolutely miss these human connections. And you're right, this little black box we're dealing with, it's wonderful that we have the technology now, because 20 years ago we didn't, but it doesn't do the trick for me, for sure.
It's a
Let's
blessing
talk.
and a curse.
Yeah. Let's talk about Planet Botanics. So tell everybody exactly what it is that you do at Planet Botanics, because you do a variety of different things.
So I'm a certified aromatherapist, and I make all the artisan body care that's in the store, and I have been for 25 years. We have a very large selection of essential oils, which are very close to my heart because they are plant-based and they are really amazing healers. We have a whole do-it-yourself section because I think it's really important that people take that back and learn how to design their own body care or get crafty, get creative. That's a really important part of who we are. And then yoga and meditation aids and a whole bunch of crystals, which I never saw coming, but people are loving their rocks.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the clinic, the wellness clinic. So that's a holistic approach, which takes the client and helps them to heal themselves, as opposed to the allopathic model where you go and you get a script or whatever and you're on your way. This is about you healing you.
So that's giving us the tools to heal ourselves.
Exactly.
Well, that leads me to the impact that this has had on your business. You said you've slowly started to reopen, but I imagine the impact has been very difficult for yourself.
It's been huge. It's been huge. And I didn't even know what to do at first because I had to think of my staff as well. And what were they going to do? How were they going to earn money if we were closed?
Yeah.
And then fortunately, options came available for them. So that was okay. But also, we're in a community and in a neighborhood, and we're part of that. So I was also concerned about our customers. And as you said, not everyone has internet, not everyone has cell phones, and they rely on that communication, that one-to-one. And then personally, it was just like, I think we're very similar. So it was a roller coaster every day, like, oh, this is great. I can do all these things and then do nothing.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, some days you're motivated, and, it took me a while just to even start this show because I was sort of ramping it up, and then I just had this kind of wave of sadness that came over me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not in a good space to do interviews, and I wanted, a lot of the interviews to be positive and to look at some of the positive situations that have arisen. It happens during difficult times, right? That we find the positive often. And I just had 2 weeks where I was like, I can't do it. Like I wasn't motivated. I had a difficult time getting out of bed. And I think that's something that everybody has felt, whether it's a short term or a long term thing. And as you said, people that, don't have the means of technology, imagine where they find themselves right now.
Exactly. The long-term ramifications for mental health really frighten me, and I'm really glad to see that there are supports in place, and the politicians are stepping up and saying we're here for you and everything else. This is an unprecedented time. I mean, the curse thing I was talking about was this instant communication where we can know everything at every moment, and not all of it is the truth, and you can get so caught up in it that it can consume you. Whereas when you practice yoga or when you try to meditate or when you do any of those things, it takes you to a different place mentally and emotionally. And one of the interviews, now that I think about it, was about grief. It was a grief coach. And I'd never thought about grief being anything other than the loss of a loved one.
Right.
And she said, no, we're grieving loss of freedom, loss of connection, loss of physical interaction, all of those things. And I thought, yeah, she's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for young people, you know, they find themselves in a difficult situation too, where, you know, I can see my daughter was a little, you know, it's kind of exciting in the first 2 weeks of, oh, school's out, great, you know, I don't have to go to school. And then, you know, the week number 3 is, I want to go back to school, right? I miss my friends. I like my teachers. I miss that, you know, connection. So, you know, it doesn't matter what age you are. I think we've all, you know, suffered greatly. And you said, you know, mental health is going to be a big issue, and that's where I want to sort of pick your brain a little bit and ask for your advice as a certified aromatherapist. You must work with different essential oils that, of course, help in different ways, both mentally and physically. When we look at these times and people are looking for something to help themselves with their mental health, what do you recommend?
Well, scent is a very personal thing. So
Right.
even though I might recommend a scent, if you don't like it, let's say it evokes a memory that is not altogether pleasant, it won't be good for you. Fortunately, there are thousands of essential oils. I'll use the example I think I always use with you of the ubiquitous lavender, because it's not an expensive oil. It's got amazing properties for skin healing as well. It's analgesic, it's a skin cell regenerator, but also it's a calming, uplifting oil. So if it appeals to you, it's a really good one to diffuse in the house or add to a lotion you already have, or to put in a diffuser beside your bed at night to help you sleep.
Right.
Um, Frankincense is one of my favorites, and it's been used, as you know, forever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's in the Middle East, it's been used for thousands of years. And it also is one of these deeply meditative oils. So, what you want to do is get down to a state. In a meditation state, you're in a theta level,
Okay.
theta state, where you're kind of hypnotized. So, you want to get into a state where you're just chill, you're zen, you're just bring it down a bunch. So, even doing deep breathing with essential oils like a eucalyptus, and you can feel the eucalyptus in your lungs. That physical sensation can help to lower your stress and tension as well.
Yeah, we actually use eucalyptus in our sauna. So we have a wood-fired sauna up at our cottage, and when we put, you know, the water on the hot rocks, we would add a couple of drops of the eucalyptus. And you're right, it just, you know, breathing it in and, you know, through the nose, it getting the scent, and then, you know, feeling it in your lungs. It is a very incredibly calming experience. But I think it's interesting how you know said that, you know, we're all individuals, so one scent isn't going to work for another. So I guess when people come to see you, that's where, you know, your expertise comes into play, where you can walk them through all the different scents and find something that works for them, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's a combination of different essential oils.
Okay.
Aromatherapists usually combine three or four. Um, and so, for example, I don't have a good relationship with patchouli. It's just too
Okay,
much.
me neither, by the way. I grew up I grew up a hippie. So I listen, a lot of my friends, female friends, had that scent, and I get, just after a while it drove me crazy.
Right? It's a little obnoxious.
It
It doesn't
is.
know when to back off. But if you blend it with lavender and orange, it's actually one of my favorite combinations. It just changes it. It mellows it
Interesting.
out. Yeah. Another one that I'm not overly fond of is Ylang Ylang, which is a very sweet. Probably smelt that on your hippie friends too.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Its name actually means flower of flowers, and I just find it's too sweet. So I mix it with black pepper and lime, and it tames
Okay.
that sweetness as well, because the lime is sharp and the pepper is sharp, and they just say, "Hey, Ylang Ylang, back off," and it's quite a nice combination in the end.
I think a lot of people, of course, going through stress. You're going through it. I am. I'm sure every single person watching has been going through some stress. Are there some common sense or some common practices that you recommend, and that that at Planet Botanics, you know, that's fairly common, that when people come in feeling stressed, this is my recommendation?
So here's an interesting thing that happens at the store.
Okay.
About noon, in a regular world, in the past and in the future, people will come in and say, "Oh, I was having such a tough time at work. I'm on my break. I just needed to come in." And in that state, they've come to the present moment, and that's super, super important. We're
Right.
always either regretting the past or worrying about the future, and yet this moment right here is awesome. But we've trained our minds to forget about that. That there are a lot of gifts in just being where you are, and that's the thing about the eucalyptus and the sauna, right? It makes you go, oh, here I am in the sauna. I'm feeling this. I'm smelling it. I'm present.
Yeah, I'm in the moment, right?
Yeah,
Being in the moment. We
exactly.
talk about it too often, but we don't do it often enough.
That's right. And it really is a practice like anything else. You have to keep practicing in order for it to get better at it. So if people come in, generally, yeah, it's the essential oils. And we have samples of every oil we have. So, like, well, here, smell this, how you feel about it. And again, because scent is so evocative, it's one of the oldest scents we have, and goes to the oldest part of the brain. So if your Aunt Lucy, who you detested, really loved lavender, that's the connection you're making.
Right.
And you may just, even though you may think, yes, I know lavender is wonderful for me, all you can think about is Aunt Lucy. So it won't work so well.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you might not even, consciously think of that, right?
Exactly.
But your brain knows it. It's like, no, I have a negative connotation. I had a negative experience. That scent is not for me.
Well, it's your example of patchouli
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the community. You've been a big part of the community, of course, here in Ottawa. I know how much you love it and adore it. And, whenever we've had interviews in the past on Daytime Ottawa, one of the first things out of your mouth is how great this community is and how they've supported you. Have they been able to support, like, have you been able to kind of pivot a little bit, or were you just closed and that was that?
So I know everyone was scrambling to learn Zoom.
Yeah.
And we already had an online presence. So
Okay.
but it was never very robust because people would come in. We didn't do a lot of online sales. So what happened was I was offering free delivery on orders over $100, and gas was cheap, so I was willing to go anywhere and do that. I mean, locally, I was going in Toronto. But.
Yeah.
And then online orders, either I was delivering everything or mailing them.
Okay.
And then we did the curbside pickup. So it was like tiny little increments. Meanwhile, we were making the website more robust, and I was trying to populate all the social media a lot. And that was great until I ran out of ideas.
Well, and you know what? It's one of those things. I don't know. I'm one that, I'm on social media and I get some momentum, and then I'm like, I'm really tired of social media. Like, I need to step back and take a break. And of course, everybody in marketing that you talk to says you can't take a step back. You have to keep the conversation going. It's not easy if you're not used to doing it, or if it's not part of you. I really think it has to be part of, how you're made up. And I'm not made up that way. And I have a feeling you're probably the same way.
Well, I've learned Canva very well. So I was trying to do a combination of things. I would do a recipe or do a picture of something, and then I do a little video. But yeah, I mean, the problem was that at the same time, I was on this emotional roller coaster, and some days I didn't want to do a video. I didn't want to expose myself because, like you, we always want to be happy and support others and say, hey, look, it's not so bad. It's great. It's all good. And then there were some days where I was like, what's the matter with me? I'm so tired. I'm just listless and so not me. And I think that probably happened for most of us.
Yeah, I had that yesterday. I'll be honest with you. I got up, and as a matter of fact, just by coincidence, Monica had that same day. We just got up, and it was like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. I know we have things to do. We have a project we can get to in our backyard that we're working on. It was just like, no, you know what? Let's just let it be, and don't fight it. Let's just, because we can, right? We have the opportunity right now, unfortunately, because we can't go to work.
Right.
So, we just let it happen. But yeah, the roller coaster ride is nothing I've ever experienced. Something like this, that's for sure. I've had other challenges in life, but I never expected. So, I mean, we were talking off camera. that, you know, it just felt like there's some kind of parallel universe that we were plopped into, right? Something that dawned on me is, you know, when grocery shopping and over the PA system, you know, there was the be sure to stay 6 feet apart. Make sure to sterilize your hands when you enter the store. I'm like, am I in the future?
Big Brother.
Yeah.
It's so Big Brother. It's so 1984, except it's 2020.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I felt. And it just like crushed my spirit. And people, everyone, we've all got masks on. Oh my God, this is not the world we've been living in all this time. It's been
I had to say I was very grateful that we were going into spring and summer. I mean, I don't know what happened to summer. Apparently it's coming back. But you know, instead of going into winter, now we've been
yeah.
through the month and we are very resilient as a species. And I think if the second wave hits in the fall, we'll be much better prepared and we'll have a lot more tools available to us to cope. But I'm just so grateful that the weather was getting better. You see all these people that are making sourdough bread.
And wanting to leave their homes. You know, it's so ironic. I have never seen my neighbors as much as when a pandemic hit, right? And we were all told to stay inside. And then everyone was desperate to get outside, where before that, we're all on our computers and playing video games. And, you know, we've got, I mean, even young people, they're like, I need to get out. I need nature. I think maybe that ends up being one of the, you know, the blessings, right? Is that we have a greater appreciation of nature and
right.
a greater
what's
respect.
Important, the respect for sure, because I remember hearing when this first hit China and China had to shut down, that their skies were clear and that you could see Mount Everest for the first time in how many years, and and the dolphins going back to Venice.
Yeah.
Now that one was real. When they said the dolphins came back to the canal, I had to kind of go,
Yeah. I think a lot of us did. Really? Are you sure? Who's made? Because you can manipulate so many things now. Just want to give you a last word. You know, if you know, talking to viewers and talking to the Ottawa community, as a business owner, what would you like to say to them?
I think if we are going to succeed as a country in all of this, we need to become more autonomous. And by that, I mean we need to have more industry in our country, and we need to have that filter down to the shop local. And that is key. I've always been in the community. I've never wanted to be in a shopping center, for example. I want to see my people one-on-one. I know their names. I know what they want. It's a real relationship that I have with them. And we need their support now too. Forget Amazon. Forget the big ones that are trillionaires and everything else. And by the way, most of that stuff is not made in Canada.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going to do too. I always have been trying to buy local for the store and to buy ethically sourced products. But now more than ever, it's going to become my primary focus because I need to support my country. I need to support my people too.
Yeah.
So if everybody does that and we collaborate in the way that I think we should, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and the benefit for me is that Monica's always pushed this, and she's pushing it even more. As a matter of fact, we just got in contact with a local farm, and now, you know, all of our produce is from this local farm, and they deliver. And surprisingly enough, and I know a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, but it's probably going to be 10 times the price. It isn't, you know,
No.
And I'm willing to spend 50 cents more for a head of lettuce to get it from this local farm. And by the way, free delivery. So when you consider that 50 cents, consider the fact too that, you know, I haven't traveled anywhere to get it, right? I stayed home and I was able to support somebody locally. So
and the other thing about that is the quality of the food will be better.
Absolutely.
Because the tomatoes don't have to be sprayed because they're traveling hundreds of miles and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and they taste like tomatoes. Right?
I
mean, I'm not kidding. They really do. They taste like the tomato. Like, I mean, I'm aging myself and probably you, but you know, there was back in the day, they had flavor to it. And then of course, there's no doubt we live in a country where, you know, over the winter, it's, you know, it's not as easy to get fresh produce. But if you do your homework, you can still find that even over the winter with some great, local greenhouses that are still growing throughout the year. So,
And hydroponics, yeah.
yeah, I would encourage people to just do the research. And if it's not affordable for you, I understand it. Don't feel guilty about it. But I think a lot of people would be surprised. Heather, where can people find you on social media? I know you have a website as well.
So our website is planetbotanics.com. We're on social media on Facebook as Planet Botanics, and me. I post a lot of things that support community too, with Heather Garrod.
Okay.
And Instagram, we're on Instagram. I have to say I'm not a very good tweeter.
I'm not either. And you know what? And apologies to those people who love Twitter, but I just find Twitter is the cesspool of social media. I get on it and it just depresses me too often. It just so much negativity on it. It kills my spirit. So
yeah, I get it.
I try to follow the news on it every now and then, but no. And there's a certain orange-haired person that I don't want to see come up in my feed, so I try to stay away from it as much as possible. Heather, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Derick.
Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Bye.